Ooh. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Our House 21, and this is a really cool video for me. So, what's going on? Alright, so those of you who have been tracking me on social media know that my life has been getting a little bit broader lately. Now, for those who don't know, I'm actually an aerospace engineer by training. You know, actually an aerospace engineer by passion. I love cars too. So I started off, you know, with RC cars, but at some point I just had that realization that it's kind of absurd that I'm an aerospace engineer and I'm not flying any RC aircraft. So, you know, I've been expanding the fleet. So does that mean I'm not going to be doing cars anymore? No, that's not what it means at all. It just means that in, you know, some of the gaps in my free time, because I have so much free time these days, I'm just going to be squeezing these guys in here too. But what you got in front of us is not quite what you might think. So, you know, you guys know me. I just can't leave things stock. So both of these aircraft, and over here you have a Ranger 1600. This guy is from Hobby King. This is actually a fairly inexpensive, I'll call it a budget aircraft. Okay, but it's got a lot of nice features to it, and I'll talk about that in future videos. But then over here, this is my new Christmas present. Today is Christmas evening, and this is the gift that Mrs. Our House gave to me, you know, for, you know, trying to be a good husband, I guess. This is an E-Flite Convergence 650 VTOL. So this is actually a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So it can take off and land like a helicopter or a drone, but then it converts using these two tilt rotor nacelles and flies just like a conventional aircraft, and then they come back around and then land. So this is a really cool aircraft, and it's actually kind of a technological feat. So, or I should say it's a feat all by itself, and a lot of magic is based upon the built-in flight controller which comes with this thing, and I'll talk about that more about that in other videos as well. But after I get this guy up for its maiden flight, I want to be doing some funky stuff to it. And actually that goes for this Ranger too, because you can see right here, well, I have to gut it for paint anyway, and I still haven't had a chance to complete the paint job because I've been in the middle of a massive flooring project. And again, those of you who track me on social media, if you check out Facebook and Instagram, you'll see all the feeds of my Christmas 2018 house renovation project. So we're still about maybe halfway, 2/3 of the way through with that. So I haven't had a whole lot of time for RC, but given the fact that this is Christmas and I just got my new present, it's a good time for me to just kind of jump in and just, you know, highlight some things that are going on. So again, this guy's a really cool aircraft. And this guy is also a very cool aircraft. But I'm going to be using both of these guys as platforms for some completely new and interesting things that I'm going to be doing, just kind of expanding the state of what people can do in RC. And I know that's big statements, but you will see what I'm doing later on. You know, I'm kind of, yeah, let's just say that this is going to be Our House special, but the tech I'm developing will turn around and it will flow back into the cars as well. So this isn't just me being silly. This is me trying to help develop some things that's going to make the entire fleet better. You know, cars and aircraft. You'll see more when I show you. Don't worry, it'll be worth it. But what I got here is actually a little bit of an unboxing. 4 minutes in. So my friends from Venom, you know, when I mentioned to them that I was getting this guy here and this guy here, you know, they were actually really enthusiastic and they want to support me. So this is a nice thing about being sponsored. You know, sponsors like to support their team. So Venom chipped in, and they're like, you're going to need some batteries for these guys. So whoa, check this out. This is a Venom Fly 3200 milliamp hour battery. So this guy will fit nice and snugly down the side of there. And what we got down here, oh, we got another one. So actually, let me just go ahead and pop one of these guys open, because the convergence over here, this is actually advertised to run with a 2200 to roughly 3000 milliamp hour battery. So I kind of went on faith a little bit that this guy will fit. So hopefully I didn't just shoot myself in the foot. But if I did, don't worry, I have a plan B. Okay guys, so I've wrestled it out of the package here, and this is part of the Venom Fly series. And the cool thing about this, you look at this, this is a 3-cell battery. Look how thin this guy is. So this is a 3-cell 30C, as you see, 11.1 volt, 11.1 volt, 3200 milliamp hour. Pretty nice LiPo battery. And you know, the nice thing about Venom batteries, as you guys know, is A, they're high quality packs, but B, they have a warranty that you just can't really beat. So if you look here, the lifetime battery replacement, this particular battery is capable of a 5C fast charging. Now, you really don't want to do that. I mean, you can do that, but you don't want to do that very often. And reasons for that I talk about in my battery performance maintenance video. So click the card, you'll jump to that. Basically, charging batteries at very high C rates, we're talking about over 2C, it'll get the job done, but doing it very frequently, you can actually do cell damage, which can cause your internal resistance to increase, which basically reduces the life of the battery. So if you're in a pinch and you gotta fast charge it, you know, you can do that, but you really ought to be charging at 1 or 2C. In this case, given that this is a 3200 milliamp hour battery, that means that you should be charging at 3 to 6 amps, which is roughly in line with what the maximum charge rate for a lot of fast chargers is anyway, for like the 100-watt class chargers. But anyway, other nice things about this battery is that it comes with XT90 connectors on it from the factory. However, it also comes with a set of the Venom Uniplugs, the Uniplug 2.0. You can actually run this guy with Dean's connectors over here, and you can run it with XT60s as well. So that gives you some extra flexibility. So, I mean, these are basically the most popular connectors for aircraft. So you can pretty much just, without having to resolder connectors, run this with anything you want to. So one caveat, which I saw off camera, is the battery box on this thing is slightly slimmer than the battery. So I got two options on this. I can either take out my lovely I could take out my lovely little utility knife and just open this up a little bit, or it's foam. I can just probably brute force this guy into. I'm probably just going to err on the side of just opening this up slightly. We're only talking about, you know, like a couple millimeters difference here. So just open it up a little bit so that I can put the bigger battery in, and that's going to do two things for me. It's going to give me longer flight time. Now this is a trade-off, so be aware about this. A lot of guys think that if you just throw a big battery in anything, life gets better. The problem is bigger batteries have bigger weight, so you're carrying around more mass on the vehicle. That increased mass means that you actually need more energy to stay in the air. So it ends up at some point getting to a point where you're fighting yourself. So I'm going to have to see if by running this larger battery, I'm actually hurting myself. I'm going to be negatively impacting my flight time. So I know for a fact these batteries will fit in that guy without a problem. Heck, there's so much room in there, I could probably run two in parallel and just make this thing fly forever. But for this guy, I might have to be a little bit more careful with, the packs I choose. And so there's some experimentation I'm going to have to do and figure all that out. But the cool thing is that I'm using this FlySky radio, and I've had this radio for a long time. I actually bought this radio to use with the robot that I built for my church's vacation Bible school a few years ago. That's Filter8. Click the card, you'll see the link. Basically, they had a kids camp, Star Wars themed, and they wanted me to build something that looked like a droid, and they were just expecting me to throw a garbage can on top of one of my RC cars. Couldn't do that. So I built myself an R2-D2 lookalike. Click the card, interesting video, you might like it. All right, so what's on the agenda, or what's on the horizon for all of these guys? Well, Horizon Horizon, haha, funny. So anyway, well, first thing I need to do is finish this home improvement project. After I clear up that time, these guys are getting their radios. So this is a 6-channel radio. This guy needs 6 channels. This guy, I'm actually doing something cool with it because it has 5 servos on board, even though it's only set up as a 4-channel aircraft. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the mixing on my radio so I can enable the 5th channel so that I can actually have each aileron being controlled separately so that I can set up flaps and spoilers. So I'm actually going to use this 3-position switch here as a spoiler setting, so I can be running in normal position. Well, I might do it one of 2 ways. I might set it up so that it's normal position to have 2-position flaps, or I might have normal position in the middle and have it so I can set up a spoiler going in one direction and then flaps in the other. I haven't figured out which of those would be most useful. The thing about big wing aircraft is that sometimes when you get them close to the ground, they don't want to land. So I haven't flown this yet, so I don't know how, I have no idea what the flight characteristics of this thing are going to be. From watching the videos online, it sounds like it's a pussycat, but you know, sometimes, like I said, with long wing aircraft, they fight you when you're trying to get to the ground. So the nice thing about having this set up in software or via controls with the radio, I could set it up as a 2-position flap. And for guys who don't know what I'm talking about, when your aircraft is flying, typically you have your wings, and then you, when you want to roll the aircraft, you have ailerons. So these guys right here. So one of them will crank up. Let's see, where's it? Of course, it works better if it's actually connected to something. But I'll show you over here. So typically one of these will crank up, the other one will crank down, and then in this case, you get a force that wants to throw the aircraft this way. Or you can have it the opposite direction where the other one goes up, the other one goes down, and now the aircraft wants to go that way. So what you can do in some cases, like for an aircraft like this, is when you're going really, really slow, sometimes you want to be able to generate even more lift, which will let you fly even slower. Problem with that is that it also increases drag, so you end up having to add some more power. So it's not the most efficient way of flying. However, with a big wing aircraft, that's a nice thing to be able to do to help you actually put it into the ground. So in that case, you can set up flaps, which will put both of the trailing surfaces pointing down at the same time. Of course, if you do that with this airplane, you're just gonna go boop, because that's going to be acting like an elevator. But over here, because you have that big tail in the background there, if you have both ailerons going down together, you counteract that with a little bit elevator from the tail to basically keep the nose from diving down. And then, like I said, you're in a higher drag configuration, but you're producing more lift, so you can actually fly slower. And that's what all commercial airplanes do when they're coming in for a landing, you know, so that they can have a nice controlled low speed landing. So the other thing I was saying, spoilers, those guys actually take these ailerons here and they move them both up together, so it looks like this. So when it does that, well, in this aircraft, when it does that, it's basically acting like the elevators, pushing the back down, pushes the nose up, and it goes like this. In this airplane, if both of those happen at the same time, where they both come up, what that does is it effectively reduces the angle of attack of the wing. What that means is that it's like rotating the wing pointing down some. That takes lift off the aero surface. It also wants to affect the nose of the aircraft again, so you use the tail to balance that out as well. So again, it's not that big a deal if you know what you're doing flying. And a lot of the nice radios, you can set them up with a built-in program, which they call a mix, which when you activate one surface doing something, it automatically makes another control surface kick in and do something else to counteract the effect. So it's kind of a cheat, but the nice thing about technology is that it lets you cheat. So a lot of the model aircraft guys have all sorts of cool mixes, especially with the more intricate Spectrum or Futaba aircraft radios, the computerized radios. You could do some really crazy things with the mixes and with the controllability of your aircraft. So this is a fairly simple $50 radio. It can't do most of that stuff, but I do have 3 mixes I can play with, so I can set up some flats and some spoilers. All right, so what else am I doing with this thing? So as you can see, I've got right here, I've got 2 different receivers. So this is a 6-channel receiver, which I need to have in order to fly this guy. This is a plug and play version of the aircraft. There's actually 2 versions of these guys. One is called the bind and fly, which already comes with a receiver ready to go, assuming you're flying a Spectrum based radio. I'm not flying a Spectrum based radio, so that doesn't do anything for me. So the other version is called the plug and play. So for that guy, it doesn't come with a receiver, so I can just go ahead and plug my receiver into it, and then I need a bunch of these little jumper cards right here, or jumper cables that plug all the control channels from the radio here to go into the flight controller, because you can't fly this thing by itself. So basically you can't fly this aircraft without the flight computer, because it's got, if you think about it, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individual channels that all have to be controlled simultaneously to balance the weight of the aircraft almost like on the head of the pin in order to make this thing be controlled in flight. This also has built-in stability modes where it will actively manage everything to keep it from falling out of the sky, to make this guy a pussycat if you're flying in stability mode. Or you can turn all that stuff off and have a lot more agility and a lot more control authority, but it makes this thing a little bit of a bear. So again, one of those things that gives you a lot of flexibility, you know, but you have to have that onboard computer in order to make this thing function. So but other interesting things I'm doing, because I'm a nerd and I'm a very proud nerd, you know, this radio has the ability to have telemetry. So I also picked up a couple telemetry sensors. So this guy right here is a voltage sensor, and this guy right here is a temperature sensor. So I'm mounting these guys in both of the aircraft, here and here. So the voltage sensor is really cool because it will actually let me wire up that guy to my battery voltage so that I can sense the battery voltage in flight and see it popping up right here on my radio. So that's really cool because I don't have to guess how much battery state I have left. That's a typical problem of electric airplanes. You don't know how much battery you have left. So a lot of guys fly by timer, and you'll see in their flying videos, they've got the countdown clock going, and when they hit a certain number, it's time to land. No matter how they've been flying, no matter what's been going on, they got to get that sucker down because they don't want to kill their battery. In my case, I'll be able to come up and I'll be able to see, oh, out of my 3S battery, my battery voltage is at 11 volts. I can hang out for a little bit more. Or my battery voltage is dipping down into the danger zone. I need to land this sucker ASAP. So yeah, that's going to be pretty sweet. And the air temperature, that's just me being geeky. So I want to, this is actually just going to be measuring the ambient temperature inside of the electronics bays of both airplanes. And that's just going to be interesting information for me. I could get funky and I could put the probe so that it actually goes into the outside airstream temperature. But I think that the actual battery, or I should say the internal electronic temperature, is more significant to me, mainly because of other things I plan to do with these aircraft. Because if you can see, both of these aircraft are set up from the factory to take FPV camera systems. And you can actually see on this guy right here, inside the bay, it's got this little cutout. Well, you can kind of see that says FPV on it, that basically it's already got a provision to mount an FPV transmitter. So keep on the lookout. You're going to see what I'm planning to do with that. It's not going to be exactly what you're thinking, but it's going to be cool nonetheless. So stay tuned. Funky things coming all around. All right, so this has been a little bit of a long one, so I apologize for the length, but this is just a long-winded way of saying there's a lot of cool stuff coming in Team Our House. The fleet is growing, but the fleet is strong. So you guys are going to see a lot of cool content coming up. So stay tuned. Our House 21 sign out. Remember the mantra, fly, fix, fly. Break it, fix it, and do it all over again. Our House 21 signing out. Peace.